just a little runaway. 47 years and still I'm on the run. Afraid of love, I'm keeping God at bay. Spending days in a nightmare ain't much fun. I am just a little runaway. For my misery, always blaming someone else. I'm really into judgment and delay, but only hurting me and I and myself.
Hi everybody, it's Beyond the Body. Welcome. You notice I've got a new backdrop. You may have noticed. I should probably turn on some lights. This is all a big experiment here for me. We'll see how this goes. We're doing some new things. Some new things are coming through for all of us, and so we're going to be doing some things differently. And one of them is our LM virtual programming. Up until this point in time, it's been live. And now we're switching to a recorded format if that's what people are feeling. And I've been feeling this for quite some time. I would like to do a recorded program. I have inspiration that hits me all times of the day, and it doesn't necessarily fit into the format of doing a live program just on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock. So I have more flexibility now, so when the inspiration hits, I can just come into the Halo room, which is where I'm at right now. I'm in the Halo room. I may even just kind of switch this around if I can figure out how to do that. Yeah, here. This is the Halo room. See, we have a guitar in the corner, and then we have some speakers, and there's a lot of seating. This is where a lot of our programs for the community happen. And it's a beautiful space. It's got lots of doors, all windows, and you can hear the birds, and I really like the Halo room. So for right now, I'm getting an opportunity to do my program here quietly by myself with just you and me, and you are just my mind, so it's perfect. We did an altar party the other day around the pool, and unfortunately I filmed it, but the sound, I'm still learning new technical skills on a regular basis, and next time we do anything outside, I'm going to use a little roving speaker rather than just relying on the one that's in my phone. And the pool party was basically a pool altar party, and I had everyone put on their bathing suits, and we sat around and discussed those parts of the body that we have made wrong for a long time, and we were really willing to put them on the altar to see them differently. And that's the whole idea of doing anything, putting things on the altar, is that we are willing, we at least have a little bit of willingness to see something differently. And I've spent my life making my body wrong, so I had quite a few things, but the biggest thing that's up for me at that party was I have just felt big my whole life. Even when I was, you know, I'm not a small person. I'm shorter now, but I was 5'10" and 125 pounds after I got out of a refugee camp in Sudan for 6 months, and I still saw myself as overweight, too big. You know, and being a tall woman, I've never been able to hide well. And so what I put on the altar for myself was, I'm tired of feeling too big. I'm a beautiful expression of Christ mind, and can that be too big? So I put that on the altar, and a lot of people put many different things on the altar, from having too much body hair, to the nose isn't right, the lips aren't right, the breasts aren't right, the butt's not right, the legs aren't right. I mean, it was a beautiful day to really see just how much this has affected our ideas about what the body should look like, has affected all of us. And if you know of somebody that has issues with their body, well, guess what? you're projecting them, so you have probably issues with your body too, that you can't even equate with your body. You have to project them on someone else. So I would like to show you one segment, a couple of shares from the altar pool party that we held here at La Casa. An altar session is basically where we take those thoughts that are not making us joyous, place them on the altar so that Holy Spirit can help us see them differently. And this particular party was dealing with body thoughts. So enjoy these shares. We're here for a special altar session, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with altar sessions, but it's where you put something on the altar for Holy Spirit to help you see it differently. And as you probably already know, today's program is about the body and those parts of our body that we use to shame ourselves. And I'm just going to start off because this is my idea. And being raised by an anorexic mother in a family that was more concerned about weight and looks than anything else, I knew my mother's waist size at age 5, and I'm not sure why any child would know their mother's waist size, but I did. Out of that came a long life of dieting. I was a Weight Watchers lifetime member at age 13. I have dropped 100 pounds at least 3 times in this lifetime. And even at my lightest weight, which was in a refugee camp in Africa, I was overweight in my eyes. And this is an altar session. And when I was in hospice, I remember a conversation I had with my hospice nurse. And I said that I would rather die thin than live fat. And I was really frustrated that I get cancer and I put weight on, I don't lose weight. And that was a huge, huge frustration for me. So I know that I'm still harboring a lot of these thoughts. And so to start this program out, I'm putting that on the altar. I really want to see this one differently. I don't want to die suffering from body shame. I've given enough of this lifetime. So I'm putting that on the altar. Holy Spirit, I really want to see this differently. Thank you.
So as long as I can remember, I've had this consistent problem with my skin. And I thought that was what I was going to be sharing about, because it's just been probably one of the main reasons I'm involved in spirituality. Like initially there was just so much judgment around just like a skin picking compulsively, to the point where it would be like I'd go to school with like bleeding sores on my face and pretty much anywhere I could reach on my body. And I thought that was what I had to share about, but it's been washed so much. What I found in my mind that I'm actually more afraid to reveal is how vain I am. Like, I think I'm very beautiful and like have a young body and reasonably fit. And you know, there's things that I could pick apart really at any time, but that I use that for getting what I want. It actually feels like more difficult to put on the altar than, oh, I do this to my body. It's like that's an old story. This feels more ugly in a way, that I use the beauty as a weapon, if that's even what it is. Like, that's what I see. Like, I can use it to get attention from men. I can use it to feel better than other women. I can use it to get what I want. Like, it's a way of getting myself out of situations, or I don't know, it's a tool, like a weapon. And it feels really good to expose that.
help you?
Yes.
Would you like to see that differently?
Yes, I think so. Yes, let's go for it. Let's put it all in.
Thank you. So it's a fairly big topic, and that's why Beyond the Body is a program that I really feel very guided to continue doing in this new venue. So I hope you like it, and I really invite you to contact me and let me know of your ideas, or if you're having a particular issue. I can be very open to discussing this on air, and I'll figure out how we could possibly hook you in to a video so that we can discuss it on air. I'm definitely opening to just let's get this. And in A Course in Miracles, Jesus even tells us the last form that we really have to make peace with is the body, because we think it's who we are. And I mean, this is the beautiful thing about A Course in Miracles. Every aspect of our lives can be handled miraculously if we are willing. And since I was, given the diagnosis of cancer, I've been having an opportunity to really look at this topic of body and what it means. And I'm not in here. I'm not in here. That's one thing I've really gotten very deeply. It's like I live in mind. And I share this little parable from, this happened a year or two ago. I can't remember when. It was with my friend James Nike. You out there, James? Hi, James. And I was having some pain issues, and I was really going deep with the whole topic of pain, body pain. And I don't know why I expressed it, but it came out in that conversation. I said that I know that I've lived many lifetimes before. I don't doubt that for a minute. That's just, call it a belief, call it whatever you will. I just know that I have lived lifetimes before. And with that, James said, and I'll never forget this, and it really was a critical turning point in looking at just about everything. He said, then, if you know you've lived before, who died? Who died? And that's when I started to realize I'm not in here. This is a tool, or as David says, it's a pencil. It's Holy Spirit's pencil, and I've just made it so personal and such a belief in this is who I am. I am this body. And the reality is, the thoughts that I'm currently thinking right here are not in here. And I just need to say this from a neurological standpoint. I'm kind of drawing on some medical stuff here. But in neurology, they don't know where thoughts are. There is no scientific explanation for thoughts. There's a lot of people researching this, but they cannot locate a place in your brain where you're thinking. They say, well, the prefrontal cortex is more thinking about the future. And I mean, they've got all these ideas of general areas of the brain where decisions are made, but there's no scientific anything that says your thoughts are up here. And with James Nike, that I really got who did die. If I remember living before, and I do, and this is from an early age. I was from Japan. I was in Hiroshima, and I distinctly remember it. And it was the first time I think I had a past life experience when I went to Japan with a singing group when I was 16. And we went to Hiroshima, and I wasn't in anything spiritual at that point. And I had a flashback in Hiroshima, and I realized that, God, I was here, and I jumped in the river. We were passing this river, and I saw myself jumping into this river to get away from the heat. So I know I have had past lives. And so this is really dealing with this who dies. And I know so many people are now looking at this topic of death is impossible. We think of death as some end or final thing. And the reality is we're not even in this form. mind is pulled into some outside space. It's not in my head even. I see it now as one mind, or one ego mind. I mean, there you can choose from either. You can go to the ego mind or you can go to the healed mind. And it's like that's where these thoughts are formed, and I think them. And then with repetitive nature of thinking, I start believing them, and then they become set, and then I have to work to release them as a belief that doesn't serve me. So this body, the idea of this body being me, it's who I am, and this will end at some point in time and slip away and I'm dead. It's kind of a silly thought at this point. I'm eternal in that respect. And this has been this inquiry. I'm grateful for cancer, quite frankly, that it has allowed me this exploration of form, to really go deep with it and see that, death is impossible. And, I don't need to know any more than that, because that's the fear is of death. That was my biggest fear when the cancer hit me. It's like I went out in the middle of the street and cancer drove by and hit me. When I projected cancer, it was the future kind of stopped. I didn't have to think about a future because everyone was saying, well, yeah, you're terminal, go into hospice. So that cut off the future. But what it did do to me, and I offer this to anyone else that's going through this, it threw me into my past. And then I started having regret from my past, which is really coming fast and furious. I didn't have to worry about the future, but I started digging around in the past, and that's not really helpful. Just a hint to anyone else that's going through it. But what it did allow me to do is really see, okay, I'm happiest in this present moment, so let's work on that. And gaining the skills to stay very present with what is. What am I thinking now? What am I thinking now? And through the Living Miracles community, God bless, this is amazing. We have expression sessions every day, and it's just like, what's looping? What do you need to put on the altar? What do you want to get rid of? And you can express anything and everything, and people do. This is the gift we give ourselves and others, is that we're honest, and it's not about anyone else. It's just our connection with God and what's blocking that connection to God. These thoughts are. And so it's clear them out and go more into your Christ mind, dip deeper into your Christ mind. And so anyway, as many of you may or may not know, I was diagnosed with 4-stage uterine cancer it was 2009, so it was like 8 years ago. And I was in hospice, and I graduated hospice, and there's been quite a few stories since then. But one of the things I've really been working on is going deeper with the decision to be sick. And this is truly a Course in Miracles, to really look at everything that happens in our lives is something that we've called forth, that we're projecting in order that we can go deeper, that allows us to go deeper. So this has definitely been one of those journeys, and I've learned so much about myself. And this program really is kind of being given birth out of a lot of those experiences. And one of the segments that I want to go into, starting with this program, is body shaming. And I have shamed my body this entire lifetime. And so probably lifetimes before, if the truth be known. So I'm really wanting to kind of nip this in the butt, so to speak, and really get very clear on all of it. And one of the big areas that has come up for me is the amount of body shaming that I have done, just with myself. I've always thought I would be happier 5 pounds less. No matter how much I weighed, I would be happier if I were 5 pounds less. And that's just a diversion, a distraction technique to keep me from really staying in this moment and being in the peace of God that I know I am. So at this point, and it's taken, there's been some work that has gone into this. So I just want to say this is kind of the beginning of a new way of being in this program, and in this program Beyond the Body, and in A Course in Miracles. And I invite you to join me by sharing your ideas of areas that around your body that stop you, whether you find yourself sick or unhappy with some function in your body. Private message me on Facebook. I'm easy to find, Calico Hickey. And if you feel like you would like to talk to me about it, I'm more than happy to do that. And we can work something out, but just private message me and I'll definitely respond. I know that I've talked to several people in our community here about being on future programs to discuss these things, and I'm kind of excited about that. I know I want a whole show on fear of fat, for I think that's a fairly major fear that runs across the board, except in Kenya. When I was in Kenya, the women there would wear blankets on their buttocks, and they just couldn't have big enough buttocks. And I think, all these things are changing. I was in the generation of Twiggy and fairly anorexic frames, and my body was never anorexic looking. So I made myself wrong for that in so many ways, and I would love to see this topic completely discussed thoroughly, and I want to use this format to do it, because that is one of the biggest things that I see that led to me projecting cancer, is that I have never liked myself, and I'm learning to love myself now, and it's a beautiful thing, and it's a fairly interesting process and not always easy. And I invite you all to join me in the exploration of learning to love yourselves. And the way we can do that is by seeing where we're critical of ourselves and how we make it wrong and want to change it. And I've been on every diet on the planet. I was on liquid protein diets, macrobiotics, vegan diets. I've done all kinds of diets. And I've kind of with all these diets, I have kind of smoke screened. I have used many diets as a distraction, and I've often called them not to change form, because I didn't want to go to the truth of the matter. I used these diets as a way of being healthier or being more ecologically correct, or I diverted the truth of why I was perhaps eating vegan or macrobiotic, or the protein diet was just to get a handle on some issues and health issues. And so I've used diets, and I was a chiropractor for 35 years, and I would give people diets for whatever they came in that they were concerned with. I had a diet for no sugar diet, no dairy diet, no gluten diets, macrobiotics, kidney diets, liver diets, cleanses. I had a whole armory of diets. I was the diet queen. And I currently, and I spoke this to a friend the other day, I currently eat for joy. It's whatever makes me happy I go for. And the reality is it's a fairly joyous way of eating, and yeah, it's quite simple. So I want to discuss that, and one of these programs will be going into diets and looking at, juicing, and it's not whether you do a diet or not, or eat a prescribed way or not. It's more, how are you holding it? Are you making your body wrong in some way? Are you trying to fix your body in some way? Because that's where A Course in Miracles comes in. It's not in the doing, it's in how are you holding it. Are you making yourself wrong because you're too heavy and you want to lose weight? You're making yourself wrong because you're eating meat and you don't believe in hurting animals? So that's what we'll look at the diet section. You know, Laverne Shepherd here in our community, I absolutely adore her, and we've talked about possibly getting together and doing a segment on fear of fat together, because you know she has a lot of history with having that control her life as well. So we're looking at a lot of different things here. You know, we had a pool party the other day, and that's what really sprang, this whole new format kind of sprang from that. I'll be showing clips from that, but unfortunately the audio wasn't very good, and so this is kind of a test run to see if the audio works on this particular form of videoing. Then I'll be able to join with others and we can discuss these ideas as they come up too. And I'm putting that out in our community here, that if an issue with the body comes up, let's join. Let's join and do a program with it. You know, are you catching a cold? Let's talk about it. You know, let's look at this a little differently. Colds aren't just out there waiting to be caught. So it's going to be flipping everything about the body up on its head, and I look forward to seeing where this goes, because I really don't know. I have some ideas that I've jotted down, but like I said, I'm an open invitation for stuff that you might see coming up in your lives that you'd like to see discussed. You know, let's talk about anorexia and bulimia from this new perspective, not as there's something wrong, but the correction is not in the doing. The correction is in the mind. And so I look forward to seeing what comes out of all this. So that brings us to an end of another Beyond the Body segment. I just want to close with this, and just to let you know, there's a special treat after this, because our pool party ended with all of us going in the pool, and I just put some music to and wanted to share that with you. But for right now, let's just read this part of the text in chapter 19. The body does appear to be the symbol of sin while you believe that it can get you what you want. While you believe that it can give you pleasure, you will also believe that it can bring you pain. To think you could be satisfied and happy with so little is to hurt yourself, and to limit the happiness that you would have calls upon pain to fill your meager store and make your life complete. This is completion as the ego sees it. Communion is another kind of completion, which goes beyond guilt because it goes beyond the body. So I hope that all of you join us and jump in with both feet. Have a great moment.
I am just a little runaway, 47 years and still I'm on the run. Afraid of love, I'm keeping God at bay, spending days in a nightmare.
This is Beyond the Body from La Casa de Milagros.
It was just a tiny mad idea, at which the Son of God remembered.